وأما الغلام فكان أبواه مؤمنين فخشينا أن يرهقهما طغيانا وكفرا. Suratul-Kahfi, Surah number 18, ayat number 80. وأما, and as for al-Ghulamu, the boy, فَقَانَ أَبَوَاهُ, well, his parents were mu'minaini, were true believers. فَخَشِينَا, and so we feared, an yurhikahuma, that he would cause them to suffer, tughyanan, by obstinate rebellion, wa kufran, and disbelief. Not that complex. We'll try to address a few critical points over here. The first point is the word khashina, we feared. So khashya is the root word, the trilateral root word, the verbal form as well. That means to fear. Khashina is we feared, and khashya, he feared, or to fear. But then we have khafa. The root word is khawafa, ya khayafa, but it's pronounced khafa. That is also to fear. So what is the difference? It's a bit tricky. When we translate it in the English language, it's difficult to capture that connotation. So we need this explanation. Otherwise, fear in this case is actually a good, correct translation. When you compare khawf and khashya, there are two things that we need to remember. Khawf is, it's difficult to sort of differentiate as well, because in both the cases, as I am saying, fear is the most appropriate translation, one of those tricky places. So I will not hold the scholars or translators who have translated it as we feared accountable. But nevertheless, we do need some explanation, a bit of a deep dive. So khawf, number one, is more general and more generic, and khashya is more special or specific. That's hardly any differentiation. Second point to note is, say, khawf, what would I say? So let's start with khashya. Khashya has to do with sort of, it's more active, it's more dynamic in nature rather than passive, rather than laid back. What I mean essentially is, I'll say the next point as well and club the 2 points in the explanation together. These are interrelated. Khashya is to fear Allah because you know that no harm can come from other than Him. So that sort of a sense or feel or mindset. So harm cannot come except from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To develop a feeling about that, to develop a sense about that, that is khashya. And also some actionables, as I said, some actionables. It's not static, it's dynamic, it's active, some actionables. For example, if you think you're supposed to do certain things, you're missing out on farz, then you might as well start doing those. So you should not omit, you should commit to those. Because otherwise you will be held accountable on the day of judgment. Similarly, if you're doing certain things which are wrong, then you must make a conscious effort to stop that and repent from that. So there are some actionables associated, and the fear is because of Allah, but due to consequences in the hereafter, and no one else can cause you any harm. So that is khashya. It's a bit tricky. Khawf is more general. You fear a snake. It has nothing to do with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now you cannot say, no, it cannot do any harm, but with the permission of, no, that's not the case. You see a snake, that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you see a snake, you kill it. So that can cause you harm. It's natural. It's a wild animal. It's a serpent. It's a reptile. It's a snake, basically. It can cause you harm. So there are no actionables as far as your internal state is concerned. You can run away. That's not and actionable on your internal state. Khashya has an actionable to do with the internal state. You are conscious that no harm can come to you except from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and hence you are fully conscious of Him and you fear Him because there are consequences and you will be held accountable. So this was about khashya. I mean, the word khawf does not appear here, so we could have omitted this entire discussion. So as I said, if there is something which you're omitting and you needs to commit to, do that. If it's something which you're doing, you're doing, and you need to abstain from that, then you abstain from that. So both the sins due to or crimes due to commission or omission is sort of indicated. Khawf, as I said, is more general. This was one of the discussions which I thought was important. Ghulam, I think I've explained the boy, al-Ghulam of the boy. The naughty boy, you can say, just to differentiate between fitya, fatah, anyway. And another word we can discuss about is yurhik. Yurhiku, arhaka yurhiku, uncausative yurhika. Anyway, so this term, turhikni, la turhikni, you do not overburden me, Musa alayhi salam said to Khizr alayhi salam. So since it is family number 4, arhaka family, rohaka, I think it's rohika anyway. So what happens is, cause them to suffer. He would cause them to suffer. So cause them to do something. So that meaning is there. Cause them to, I mean, overburden them is fine, but cause them to suffer. That better captures the context or the connotation as is implied in the sentence. But how? By tughyanan wa kufran. Now, so next word is tagha. Now, we will differentiate between tagha and bagha, two separate words, two very different words, different roots, and unrelated, by the way. So, what is the difference with tagha and bagha? Both can give you a sense of rebellion, but tagha is sort of when you decide that you will not follow rules or laws. Laws is better. You will disobey the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is tagha. So by obstinate rebellion in this case, I've captured it through. Transgression is also okay. Bagha is more to do with rebellion, but the motivation here is not to sort of, I mean, you're disobeying over there as well, but the motivation here is to disobey for the sake of disobeying, per se. To disobey the law, to disobey the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, disobey the commands, the orders. But bagha is, the motivation is sort of immoral desires, if I were to put it that way. So that's how you differentiate. Here, since it was a boy, the focus was not about his immoral desires, but more as his, when he grows up, he would become a sort of obstinate, rebellious type of child, a man, and thereby he would cause them to suffer, his parents to suffer. To make them do something, to cause them to do something, that's the property of family number 4, arhaka yurhiku pattern. So that is one point. And kufran is disbelief. So he would be a disbeliever, and his parents were mu'minaini. That's a dual form. Mu'minun, mu'minani, or mu'minaini is the dual form. Right? Kufran is disbelief. It can also mean ungrateful. Both the meanings are okay. He would be ungrateful to his parents. He would disbelieve in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I thought disbelief is a stronger sort of association because it is being contrasted with mu'min, right? His parents were mu'minaini, believers. True believers I've added for emphasis. That could be omitted as well, just as I've added the word well instead of so. Well is a sort of good translation for fa. So abawa is in dual, so that's why I have translated his parents. Kufran, again, as I said, disbelief, ungratefulness, all these meanings are captured. Otherwise, it's a simple verse. So let's wind this up. If yesterday was a very sort of emotional sort of session, today was a lighter one, I can add some emotions to it, but I'll withhold, because to fully appreciate what I said yesterday, it will not be clear unless we discuss verse number 81 also. So I'll rather withhold it for the next session. We'll do that at that time. We'll wrap this session up by reading the verse one more time. وَأَمَّا الْغُلَامُ فَكَانَ أَبَوَاهُ مُؤْمِنَيْنِ فَخَشِينَا أَنْ يُرْهِقَهُمَا طُغْيَانًا وَكُفْرًا. And as for the boy, well, his parents were true believers, and so we feared that he would cause them to suffer by obstinate rebellion and disbelief. And something else is also tied. You can see this verse, I've tried to fit in a single line that I'll discuss tomorrow as well. English, don't look at it, because when you try to capture the same text that is present in Arabic, in English many times you need much more words to represent the same meaning, so naturally it spills over. Arabic is very precise that way, concise that way, not precise. English can be precise as well, concise, and the language allows for to capture the connotations with less number of constructs. So that's it then for this session. We'll continue with the next few sessions, which are also going to be very interesting, and we'll see what more is there for us, which unfolds and presents to us for our deep contemplation.